Welcome back to Reliving Layton, a series where I am playing through the Professor Layton games in chronological order and ranking them as I go. In our last video, we finished ranking the spin-offs, which means we're now on to the prequel trilogy. Yay! Also, I'm a little sick while recording this, so hopefully the audio quality isn't too disgusting. And also, I cut my lip before I started recording this today, so please, no comments about how red and swollen my upper lip is. Please, thank you. The first game of the prequel trilogy, and subsequently the first game of the chronological timeline, is Professor Layton and the Last Specter. This is a great game, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you today. Professor Layton and the Last Specter was released in the US in 2011 on the Nintendo DS. If you're watching this from the UK or Europe, you may know this game as Professor Layton and the Specter's Call, and that's spelled Spectre for y'all across the pond. In this Layton adventure, Herschel, Luke, and newfound assistant Emmy travel through the melancholy town of Miss Tallery, where there are reports of an ominous specter who awakens regularly to wreak havoc on the town. Let's jump right into it with the plot and writing. I think the plot of this game was good and I enjoyed it. The Last Specter has a distinct contrast in tone from the other games in the series. It is a very quiet, introspective installment in the series, which is very effective in serving as the origin story of the Layton-Luke duo. As the first chronological game of the story, we see Layton before he's made a name for himself, Emmy as a new fresh-faced assistant, and Luke as a very small child who's yet to gain the confidence and curiosity we see later in the games. Actually, I loved Luke's portrayal in this game, and it was one of my favorite parts of the entire story. Seeing where Luke begins his arc really puts it into perspective how much he grows throughout the series. In Last Specter, he's shy, quiet, and doesn't talk much. He's also having family troubles. He has an absent, constantly busy father, and his mother has been disappeared. Well, not quite. I feel like I have to sneeze. Okay. He has an absent, constantly busy father, and his mother has disappeared without a trace for months. The emotions Luke is grappling with in the story is a very human and compelling writing choice. I think the way Luke is written in this game makes him so much more three-dimensional than Professor Layton's little kid sidekick who goes, "Professor, Professor." He's like an actual human being with feelings, which is really cool. I am taking off 1 star for the plot for one quick reason. I had a little tiny beef with how they addressed Ariana's illness. They beat a giant robot. Cool. There's a giant mystical sea creature in Miss Tallery. Sure. They discovered the Golden Garden. Fine. But the pure air just healed her? Just like that? Yeah, it took time for the healing to happen, but one of the linchpins of the entire plot was that Ariana had a chronic fatal illness and wasn't going to live very long. Now she's just fine after breathing some moist underground air. It felt like a cop-out to me. Otherwise, I really enjoyed the story and atmosphere of this game. It was very cohesive and fun. Also, side note, I am obsessed with Lucia. She is that girl. I remember loving Lucia when I first played this game as a kid, and nothing has changed. She is freaking adorable. I need a plush of her so bad. And the Etsy sellers are not coming through. I might just learn to sew so I can make myself a Lucia plush, because she's so freaking cute. I love her. I'm giving The Last Specter OST 4 stars because while it wasn't my personal favorite from the games, it did fit the vibes of the game with flying colors. It was distinctly different from the typical feel of the Professor Layton OST. The background music has this constant melancholic, wistful vibe, which I think fits the foggy, mist-soaked setting perfectly. In summary, not my favorite OST in the series in terms of personal taste, but it fit the environmental storytelling beautifully. Playing this game right after Layton's mystery journey was frankly a huge relief. When I was playing Layton's mystery journey, it had been a while since I had played one of the main series Professor Layton games. I was worrying Have the puzzles in Professor Layton always been this easy? But they totally did the puzzles justice in the last Specter, and finally felt like the classic Professor Layton puzzle experience. The mix of puzzle difficulty was nice and gradual, and it culminated in the final boss, quote-unquote, of 4 puzzles, which were quite challenging but satisfying to finish the game. I especially liked how the final 4 puzzles were all like themed around taking down the robot. It fit into the storytelling in a cool way. Most of the minigames in Last Specter were fine. Not my favorite by any means, but pretty fun. I liked Puppet Theater, it was very cute. I wasn't a huge fan of Toy Train, mostly because I was very bad at it, and I had to look up solutions for most of them. Fish was a good middle ground between the two. The mouse catching minigame was a cool addition I actually had not caught before in previous playthroughs. It was a bit tricky because either the touchscreen sensitivity or the hitboxes or the older technology of the game made it very hard to tap on the mice when they appeared, but stop the presses. I cannot do a complete review of this game without talking about London Life. For those of you that are unaware, Professor Layton and the Last Specter for the DS comes with a built-in mini spin-off game called London Life. You know what? Screw it. We're doing a mini London Life review. I do not care. We're doing it. London Life is a pixelated life sim taking place within a tiny version of London known as Little London. Find tasks in the Tiny Times, Little London's miniature daily newspaper, go shopping, buy an apartment, eat food, get a job, all while following a cute storyline involving the citizens of Little London. I could talk about this game for hours, so I will try to keep this short. I love London Life. I've been playing it since I finished the series to get my Professor Layton fix. If London Life was its own separate game, I would buy it. If they ported London Life to the Switch for $70, I would buy it. And oh, it could be. The fandom wiki page for London Life claims that the game has possibly 100 hours of playtime. This is not an exaggeration. How impressive is that? Level 5 dropped an entire game called Professor Layton and the Last Specter, and decided, for a reason we may never know, to drop basically a second full game along with it like it was nothing. You literally get a second game when you buy a copy of The Last Specter. This game is awesome. You would think that for a game included with another full-length game, it would be a quick, easy, surface-level pump and dump sort of situation, but no. Level 5 put an equal amount of care and attention into London Life that they would in any of the main series games, if not more. I'm not joking when I say this could be considered a predecessor to Stardew Valley. It reminds me of a proto-Stardew. How crazy is that for like a mini-game that they tacked on to the main game? Let me just give you a taste of the depth of Little London, okay? Across all of the stores and all of the collectible items in the game, like flowers and fish, there are hundreds of items you can earn in this game, each with its own, like, individual, unique description. There are probably 30 different NPCs you can talk to in this game, all inspired by Professor Layton characters, and most of them are random-ass side characters from the last 3 games. This game is chock full of subtle, tasteful references to the last 3 games, making it a delightful experience for Professor Layton nerds or anyone who came into Last Specter having played the original trilogy. There is a completely original soundtrack to this game. There are probably 10 or 15 full-size buildings you can explore, each with fully decorated rooms with flavor text for everything you click on. There are game mechanics in place for so many things that this game is literally a fully functioning life sim. There is a happiness mechanic, an in-game currency system, a fashion mechanic. There is a mechanic to get people in Little London to talk to you and to like you and to give you tasks. There is a food and cooking mechanic. There is a decor mechanic. There is a fishing mechanic, and there is a flower picking mechanic, and there might be more mechanics that I'm not thinking of right now. And I'm not exaggerating. All of these mechanics are fully fleshed out and directly impact your gameplay with your levels of RNG, access to new buildings and items, and even the story of the game itself. It is crazy. Playing this game again for the first time since I was a kid makes me realize just how much love and care was put into this game for basically no reason. It is so awesome, and I'm really tired of the Professor Layton community sleeping on it. You guys, look at me. No one talks about this game. I feel like I'm in a padded cell. I've played this game for hours and hours. I have encyclopedic knowledge of the quests and characters and story of this game because I've played through the entire storyline and more. This was the first game I was ever Tetris affected with because I played it so much when I was a kid. It is so immersive and bursting with charm and personality. I genuinely think this game played a huge role in making me such a Professor Layton fan today. Between Unwound Future, which we will get to, and Little London, those were the games that made me fall in love with the series. In the main series, you're a third-person observer to the story, but in Little London, you are immersed in the world of Professor Layton. It is so awesome! So that's my thoughts on London Life. And just for the existence of this game within Professor Layton and the Last Specter, I give the minigame category 5 stars. Let's get back on track. Professor Layton and the Last Specter. Right. Last Specter was a very enjoyable installment of the series. As I've mentioned in a few of the categories, it's a very interesting tone shift compared to the original trilogy and even the second trilogy. I think where it lacks in the simpler OST and some writing issues, it makes up for in storytelling and character writing, as well as creating an important foundation for some lore to the original trilogy. Overall, a very nice game. That's just about it for my review of The Last Specter. I hope you enjoyed it, even if I did go on a tangent for a while there. If you own this game on DS, play Little London right now. If you don't have the game, get the game and play Little London right now. And talk to me about it. Also, play the actual game because it's very good. I feel like I kind of got off on that, but The Last Specter is a very good game. The next video will be about Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask, which, not to spoil you on it, but it is one of my favorites, so I'm really excited to talk about it. So tune in for that. Thank you for watching this review. Like or leave a comment or subscribe or whatever you want to do, or don't do any of them. I don't really care. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!